They're one of the most elite military outfits in the world. The U.S. Navy SEALs operate as small, highly mobile teams, tackling missions that demand endurance, stealth, precision, and adaptability. Their missions are anything but routine, requiring a style of leadership that is equally unconventional. Leif Babin is a former SEAL platoon commander. His unit, active during the Iraq War, is one of the most decorated in the history of Navy SEAL operations. The SEALs excel in what Leif describes as decentralized command.
On the battlefield, the worst case scenario is that if you're in the middle of a gunfight and one of my guys runs up to me and says, "Hey boss, what do you need me to do?" Is that helpful? That's actually a disaster. And so what's actually required is what we call decentralized command, where leaders at every level of the team are able to step up and make decisions.
Centralized structure, the opposite of decentralized command, is when decisions are made at the top. Senior commanders call the shots and operatives follow orders. Decentralization, however, spreads decision-making across all levels, with everyone having autonomy to make quick decisions in dynamic situations.
I gotta have people that see what needs to be done and can execute to move us forward toward that goal. I can't have people that are just sitting and waiting to be told what to do.
Leif says the SEAL brand of leadership applies well to corporate settings, especially those requiring quick thinking in the face of uncertainty and adaptability under pressure.
Every decision that you make has a long-term strategic impact in your business, in your family, and in your life.
Leif is now a leadership consultant, helping corporate leaders apply the principles of decentralized command he practiced in the battlefield.
A lot of people who have a misconception of military leadership, and that is the idea that the senior people are giving all the orders, coming up with the plans. And the reality is that doesn't really work well on the battlefield. It doesn't work well anywhere. And so the best leaders recognize they need their junior people to step up and lead. Like in my platoon, when I was a SEAL platoon commander, we had 5 new guys who were straight out of training, never had any combat experience whatsoever. Those new guys are coming up with innovative solutions of ways to solve problems. And we're willing to listen to them. We're willing to take their inputs because often new people have a different perspective on the problem. They're not jaded by the way that we've always done things. And so their contribution is critical for us to be successful. When you empower your leaders to step up and lead, they're going to be able to execute through decentralized command. And that is what the best leadership looks like.
There's many, many examples of where centralized hierarchies and organizations have completely missed an incredible, novel opportunity because the institution was unwilling to let go of those obsolete things. When we have different human beings in a decentralized format, you have great opportunity for experimentation, speed, adaptation, seizing opportunities, transforming an environment in a new way, turning a corner against an adversary and gaining a unique advantage. And today, we still are not very good at in terms of education or in terms of just leadership within organizations that are out there today.
For ages, leadership has been seen as a top-down hierarchical system, a pyramid of power where the few make decisions for the many.
A strict hierarchy is going to be valuable when we want order and stability. They can maximize efficiencies, they can maintain uniformity, and these are all very valuable things in the complexities of warfare.
Is that model reaching the limits of its efficacy?
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
We need to move from this very traditional heroic leadership style to a very collective leadership style. It is impossible for one leader to lead everywhere, to know everything.
How do we nurture the leaders of tomorrow?
Cannot groom leader in a greenhouse. We really need to groom leaders in an adverse environment and learn how to survive in that.
One Delaware company is a case study on the merits of decentralized command. W.L. Gore & Associates began in 1958 producing a type of plastic used in electrical, plumbing, or medical applications. In 1976, it went on an innovation spree and created a synthetic fabric that's both waterproof and breathable. That material, Gore-Tex, is now synonymous with outdoor apparel. Gore prioritizes innovation and fosters it through an organizational structure that decentralizes decision-making. At Gore, everyone, even the CEO, is an associate.
First and foremost, at Gore, no one has a boss. What you have is a sponsor, and that person is committed to basically helping you succeed and grow the impact that you can have on the enterprise. The other thing that's important is there are no titles. And so the lack of titles and structure and hierarchy really makes that fluid transition of leadership really, really possible.
Michelle has been with Gore for over 30 years. She started out as an engineer. Today, she leads a division making products for the clean energy sector. It's a role she's risen to thanks to Gore's flat structure.
A flat structure, and how we define a flat structure at Gore, we call it simply a lattice.
Unlike traditional corporate structures, which follow a strict chain of command, the Gore lattice structure operates horizontally. For example, if an associate needs input from another associate, even one from another team, or someone who has more seniority, there's no need to go through a leader or manager. They can reach out to them directly.
So I believe that Gore's culture and lattice structure are even more critical for the future success of this company and any company for that matter. Because the world is changing, it's evolving rapidly.
Jacques René leads teams within the Gore Fabrics division, one of 3 core businesses driving the company's success. Teams are small, and every member communicates directly across all levels, collaborating without the barriers of hierarchy.
We keep things flat because we really want direct one-to-one communication amongst associates, and we want to make sure that we're keeping the power of small teams in action to get things done. Individual associates can really come and take leadership roles for individual initiatives and projects and really drive them to completion. Teams can form very quickly, accomplish an objective, and then disband, which is really core how we are. That's how we do it in fabrics as well as the rest of Gore.
Companies need to be able to adapt, and they need to be able to move quickly. And so this lack of structure enables us to be very adaptable, to respond quickly to the changes and the challenges that the future is going to present.
As the world has evolved, it's become clear that the collective is where the creative power is. A leaner, skinnier top-level structure means less cost for a company, so it adds to the margin. Mainstream manufacturing company needs innovation, and this requires, with a thin management level, requires learning how to use the collective genius of all people on the team.
Tan Tock Seng Hospital, one of the busiest and largest healthcare institutions in Singapore. Here, a quiet revolution is underway. The hospital empowers nurses to take the lead in seeking innovations to improve patient care, a significant shift from the past, when nurses were subordinate to doctors in any decision-making. One such innovation is the Smart Ward.
Nurses actually are very good problem solvers, so we want to build that culture of innovation. In the traditional hierarchical structure, there's this perception that the doctor is the sole decision maker, but they wanted to bring across this one care team concept, right, in the Smart Ward, whereby the doctors make decisions together with the rest of the care team, and decisions can be changed, right, depending on the inputs from the different members of the care team. So they created processes to facilitate that type of communication and collaboration. So they map out what the patient journey will look like in the Smart Ward and what technologies that will be helpful for them. It's very important that they make that decision rather than we push it down. This is also very important for innovation because a lot of innovation fails because they failed to be adopted by frontline staff.
Li Li Hong is on the front lines of patient care. A new generation of healthcare professionals called advanced practice nurses. She's highly trained, empowered to initiate tests, make diagnoses, and plan the care regime for patients. Responsibilities once reserved exclusively for doctors.
First of all, we are not here to take over the job from the doctors, but rather it's a hybrid role, tackling both the nursing as well as the medical with this advanced training. Yeah, so definitely there is higher decision-making needs. For example, some bedside ultrasounds. We can do bedside ultrasound to timely identify certain conditions that the patient having so that we can take action quick to treat the patients.
Collective leadership is very important for healthcare. And as I can see from Tan Tock Seng Hospital as an example, they believe that everybody play an important role. I also found a high correlation between collective leadership and job satisfaction. So there is a direct correlation between these two. When the workers, the employee work in an organization that exercise collective leadership style, as opposed to a very traditional, heroic one person decide for everyone, the job satisfaction went up.
The hospital has formalized other ways to elevate the position of nurses. There are governance councils formed to review and improve a host of hospital functions, including patient safety, research, and innovation. Nurses lead these councils.
So these are councils that represent the voices of the nurses across the division of nursing. We nominate nurses based on their clinical experience, based on their previous work, projects, and things like that. But there was a thought then that, why don't we open it up, right? That any nurse, who has a passion to change things, right, who has aspirations for the professions, to be able to be a member of the governance council. Hence, we decided to design this democratic process called elections, where any nurse, right, actually can stand out for elections. So what is beautiful is that the nurses actually elect who they want to sit in the council to represent them.
If breaking down traditional hierarchical structures can unlock great potential in the workplace, perhaps it is also the key to creating a more engaged and empowered society.
Assalamualaikum. Bu Aryani, saya Gunawan.
Visually impaired Aryani Soekarno is 78 and one of Indonesia's oldest civil rights activists. Her mission is to get more persons with disabilities to vote in elections.
Kalau tunanetra, disabilitas netra, itu alat bantu coblos. Ini jangan sampai salah. Ini bukan surat suara, yang surat suara adalah ini, ya.
Aryani co-founded the General Election Center for Disabilities Access, or PPUAD. One of their biggest milestones, the introduction of Braille voting cards in 2014.
Pemilu yang dulunya disabilitas itu dia bisa ikut pemilu, diremehkan, didata sebagai pemilih, ya gitu kan. Dimanipulasi suaranya. Jadi kita membuat kepanitiaan untuk mengadvokasi hak-hak politik disabilitas untuk pemilu 2004.
Indonesia's civil society participation rates are amongst the highest in Southeast Asia. It's a legacy of the country's reformasi period, when citizens, especially students, engaged in protests which toppled Suharto's New Order regime in 1998. It set the momentum for people like Aryani to emerge from the grassroots, to lead initiatives and advocate for meaningful improvements.
In countries like Indonesia, civil society organizations provide citizens with a channel to push their voices to the government, because the citizens might feel that the government is lacking in terms of providing them with something that they want. The government has to let civil society organizations to thrive and survive. They're going to be really critical toward the governments, but that's their roles in a democracy.
The PPUAD has advocated for equal political rights for people with disabilities for the past 20 years. They pushed for new legislation, finally passed in 2017, to not limit the political rights of citizens with disability. Since the law took effect, the number of registered voters with disabilities has grown to an estimated 1 million. And the PPUAD now operates in almost every province in Indonesia. Today in Malang, Indonesia's General Elections Commission is leading a voter education campaign. The campaign informs people with disabilities about their voting rights and provides accessibility options such as braille ballots, wheelchair-friendly stations, and support for those with visual or hearing impairments. It also conducts practice runs to ensure participants are comfortable with the voting process. Ariani also wants to inspire more people with disabilities to step up as leaders in their communities.
Apakah setiap orang bisa menjadi pemimpin? Ya memang pemimpin ya. Paling sedikit pemimpin di dalam keluarganya kan. Dan bertanggung jawab atas semua, baik apapun posisinya harus bisa bertanggung jawab lah terhadap perbuatannya ya. Pemimpin yang baik itu ya yang berhasil membawa kemajuan lah bagi lingkungan dan komunitasnya.
Like Indonesia, Taiwan has a strong culture of civic participation. In 2014, the Sunflower Movement, led by young Taiwanese, called for more transparency and public input in shaping the government's decisions on key issues.
In 2014, after the very famous Sunflower student social movements, this comes with two impacts. The first impact is on society. So the civil society is starting to grow in Taiwan. A lot of civic organizations start to get strengthened. And people are starting to realize that the governments will finally change their policies like that.
Students use technology to organize, communicate, and coordinate, creating online platforms to share information and gather public opinion. These tools became vital for decentralized decision-making and rapid mobilization. Recognizing the power of these digital strategies, the government partnered with the civic tech movement, GovZero, and launched V-Taiwan, an online platform to better engage with the public. Peter Chui is a law student and a longtime V-Taiwan facilitator. For the past 5 years, he's helped guide online discussions and run community hackathons. Today, he's helping run a session where contributors pitch innovative ideas to tackle the issues they care about.
那我想要解决问题就是黄牛票的一个问题，想要来去推动论证这个公共议题论述的会诊平台。那以下是我们10类的讨论。
What is happening right now is that we are making proposals. So every contributors will have 3 minutes to briefly explain and briefly introduce what they are contributing to and what is some innovative ideas they are having in their project. And a lot of different connections between different kind of professionals are building inside these kind of atmospheres and vibes.
Peter says these public participation tools are a platform for youth to step up and take the lead.
Especially in Taiwan, in the East Asian traditional cultures, if you have aged people, usually you're thinking that he or she will be more experienced, he or she will be more suitable for the leadership. But however, since in the GovZero society, there's a lot of students, there's a lot of community members which are very young, which is very good. So age is not quite an appropriate standard for the leader. We have a lot of ways to accumulate my knowledge, accumulate my experience. There's a lot of opportunities, and these opportunities are offered usually not by age, but by your competence, by your ability, by your capabilities on finish or doing something.
In Singapore, youth are also stepping up and showing a greater interest in civic participation. University student Varick Ng is one such young leader.
Okay guys, so we are at this spot right now and we're gonna head up north.
Varick drives change in an area he feels strongly about: road safety.
When I went to tertiary education, I tried cycling to school, and there's a certain stretch of road along my commute where I saw a lot of banners where people are getting injured or getting killed in car crashes, and that's what got me interested in road safety. So today we are here at Tampines Street 33. It's one of the streets that I frequented when I was younger, and I still come here from time to time. So what this street used to be is a 2-lane road with nothing in between, so it's very straight. And what will happen at night is that people will speed through this street, making it very dangerous for people crossing on foot. So what I did is I decided to contact my MP to see if there's anything that can be done to this street to make it safer for everyone. What he did was he created a poll in the neighborhood to see if the residents would like to have a silver zone. Given the results of the poll, a silver zone is being rolled out.
A silver zone is designed to enhance pedestrian safety, incorporating traffic calming measures, raised junctions to slow vehicles down, and lane narrowing to control traffic flow. These zones are found in areas with high foot traffic, such as schools or neighborhoods with both young and elderly pedestrians.
I think generally I'm quite happy about it. The silver zone has brought a few upgrades, so if any crash occurs here, the damage will be lesser than if the crash occurred at a previous speed limit of 50 kilometers per hour. Good morning, I'm Varick, and I like play.
Varick also runs a YouTube channel. Here he shares his thoughts and experiences on urban design and traffic solutions. He also organizes workshops, bringing together citizens focused on creating safer streets.
Nice, you guys kept the pulse steady. But this clap taught something super happy, because for every time you clap, someone around in this world gets injured in a car crash.
Among the young today, there is a greater interest in civil society. They are starting to see that, well, it's not enough to express my views on social media or to the government, but it is also good to form civil society groups to come at issues with a different perspective and with their own unique skill sets. So it's important that they find an avenue to contribute in their own ways.
One dataset measures the extent to which citizens are active in civil society organizations worldwide. Countries are ranked from 0 to 1, 1 being maximum participation and 0 being absence of participation. According to this data, Singapore ranks relatively low.
Generally, in Singapore, we do have the happy problem where the government has been very efficient in handling many of the issues that citizens face. So in a situation like this, we have developed a system where public service organizations are the frontline responders to municipal problems, to environmental issues, societal issues. So in a nutshell, the more that you do your job well, the less there is a need for others to come in and provide the same kind of service.
To encourage greater public input and engagement, Singapore's fourth-generation government, led by Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, launched the Forward Singapore initiative. Its goal is to refresh the country's social compact and open up new opportunities for civic participation.
So these kinds of process, government will engage the citizens, they will collect views, they will collect feedback from the citizens at a broader level across different policy areas, and then they'll take these views back and try to incorporate them into their policies. So going forward, I do think that there will be slightly more vibrant civil society in Singapore as the young are very mobilized towards these issues.
Oh, this is nice. Pedestrianize this area over here. Pocket gardens. I love it. This is radical. I love it. The way we do things in Singapore is super efficient. Because of how efficient things are in Singapore, there might be an expectation that the government handles everything. But the thing is, there will always be places that there are gaps in between the service. And I feel like that's where citizens play a very important role, because they're on the ground, they look out for issues. One way I think policymakers can engage would be to just have honest conversations with youths, even if it's very different from the current alignment of views, because I think that every viewpoint is very important, and it's worth listening to everyone.
As more young Singaporeans step up to lead, the urgency to equip them for future challenges grows. Fortunately, that vision to develop the leaders of tomorrow was germinated 60 years ago. It's the September school holidays, a break for most students in Singapore. But a select group of 15-year-olds are on a mission to build resilience in themselves, a key skill for leadership today. They're on their way to Pulau Ubin, an island just northeast of Singapore. This is OBS, Outward Bound Singapore. OBS is part of a global movement that began in 1941, founded by German educator Kurt Hahn, to prepare young people for the challenges of life on the water as sea merchants. In Singapore, OBS was launched in 1967, just after independence, with a similar mission to prepare young men for national service.
It was set up by our late minister, Dr. Goh Keng Swee, and with the intent to develop both men and women with leadership capability, independence, integrity, and endurance. Outbound Singapore has all along been developing youth with the intent to really build the ruggedness and resilience of an individual who are active citizens inspired to serve the community.
For these young students, many of whom have grown up in the city, this is more than just an outdoor adventure camp. It's a crucial learning experience that pushes them beyond their urban comforts.
Cannot groom leader in a greenhouse, so we really need to groom leaders in an adverse environment and learn how to survive in that. Only when you are out of the comfort zone, then you realize that, oh, I can do it.
And just like that, the skies open up. The students are thrown into their first challenge, kayaking in open waters around the island. For 15-year-old Tedra Ng, it's unfamiliar territory.
I'm not the most active or the most outdoor person that you might know. So this whole thing about kayaking for 8 hours straight is something very, very far for me. Especially the times where there was a rainy storm. There was a lot of unsettledness and a bit hesitant, like what's going to happen, or like will we be able to reach this place on time. Yeah, it really made me push myself even more. Okay, good job everyone!
So today we are on our land expedition. We started at about 7:30 where they were taught the basics of navigation as well as wayfinding and figuring out where they're supposed to go. They were given checkpoints to look out for, and we'll be proceeding on to head back to base where they came from.
As I'm coming to a close of my OBS soon, like this whole journey is one where I grew a lot in many different areas, and I'm very thankful for this. And I really like how our group is initiative, very encouraging along the way. And I think it's very important is the people that you are with and the people that's beside you that really encourages you and pushes you to.
Okay, I want you to turn to your right. So I think these activities by itself may not promote a specific values like resilience or character building or whatever, but together, when you are doing many things for the first time without your usual support system, your friends and things like that, it will lead naturally to you learning new things about yourself also and about how you deal with unfamiliarity.
The OBS experience shows that stepping out of one's comfort zone helps young people grow and build resilience. But is resilience something we can only develop in our youth? In this vast, unforgiving landscape, another group is about to face their own test of resilience. Stretching across northern China and southern Mongolia, the Gobi Desert is the world's 5th largest, spanning an area about the size of France and Germany combined. In this harsh wilderness, a unique leadership journey begins. These aren't explorers setting off on an expedition. They are top Chinese business leaders preparing for an intense test of resilience and leadership. Singaporean Professor Jean Lee runs this program as part of the China-Europe International Business School's MBA program. And she designed this particular race.
Although a lot of leadership is learned in the classroom, but personally, I feel that leadership should learn in action. So I designed this called leadership in action. And I chose Gobi Desert. And why so? I personally feel that learning is not about cognitive. You have to have body, you need to have your emotion. So it's a total, right? You use your brain, but you also use your feeling, and also you use your body.
Day one kicks off with a grueling 28-kilometer trek. Along the way, challenges force the executives to work together, rethink old habits, and make quick decisions under pressure.
These people, they are senior executive, 40 and above. And they're very experienced, so they become very fixed in certain way of thinking. So this whole process in the desert works well with this group of executives because then they realize that this actually simulates the real world environment, and then they see the importance of leadership, the importance of getting the group to work together.
As the race progresses, cracks begin to appear within teams. What seemed simple at first quickly becomes difficult as strong opinions clash.
Managing conflict is important because you sure have different opinions, especially those are bosses and CEOs, you know, they all have very strong opinion, and you can imagine they always fight your way, my way, and also how they come together. So of course I have activities that they have to overcome. They do the blind walk, they learn about trust, and it all depends on the leadership, and it all depends on how the team work together.
Among the participants today is Vivian Wong, founder and general manager of a fast-growing internet service company in home furnishings. With over 350 employees, Vivian is no stranger to the challenges of leading large teams.
其实一个这么大的团队的话，如果真的要把这个事情做得最好的话，其实会遇到非常非常多的问题。作为其实公司的这个总经理的话，我不希望我自己的一个短板和我自己的这个能力会成为公司的天花板。那我也希望其实通过这个课程能够突破自己以后，能给公司的这个管理啊，再加上发展能带来更多的机会。
把被子拿掉，被子。
Personally, I believe that all leaders should have 3 Qs: IQ, EQ, and AQ. IQ, it's, intelligence. But, leadership is more than what you know, your expertise. A lot of EQ, that is how you deal with people. But also AQ. AQ is called adversity quotient. It's how you survive in the tough time. So AQ is very difficult to learn in the classroom.
我的甘蔗，谢谢。
走了。
走，导航。
After a long day of trekking, the teams come together for a night of reflection.
我们组呢一开始是走错了走错的原因呢是因为我们就跟着前面的人走，所以就是这个故事也告诉我们不要随大流，要专注自己的方向。
It's something more common in modern leadership models, but less emphasized in Chinese leadership.
China is a very homogeneous culture. So they are very used to conformity, conform to the majority. Now, I see the beauty of it because, China, when you say go, everybody will just come together and follow. So you can see the efficiency, you can see the unity, and that is actually, it's their strength. And of course, there are also dark side of it. Sometimes the different voices don't get to be heard. So in terms of the leadership style, need to do some what we call alignment. Got to listen to different voices and try to reach consensus. And it might be taking longer time, but I think the buy-in process, it's more important in the long run.
At the break of dawn, the journey continues as the teams trek deeper into the Gobi Desert. But it proves too much for some. Leaders make tough calls, leaving some behind, while motivating the others to keep going.
先锋任务到达终点的时候，我们其实是面临着一个非常不利的局面。我们的团队是前3名就抵达的，但是当我到的时候，我们已经掉到了后尾，因为我的原因耽误了1个多小时。那对于组织而言，其实这是一次危机管理，或者在对于企业而言，如何去面对这样的一个危机管理，如何去鼓舞大家的士气，我觉得这一块可能我们的这个团队在这一次危机处理当中做得非常的有韧性、有逆商。
转进来喽！哇！其实这个课程所有的环节、所有的情绪、所有的矛盾，我都能找到这个在我的创业过程中发生的事情。这个课程就好像我们把社会上的，比如说你创业的过程，就凝缩在3天里面，集中的让你体会了一遍。但是不管怎么样，我觉得这些都不是很重要，就是我们还是会在这个过程中发现自己身上很多的一些问题，然后怎么样在以后的这个创业过程中去提高自己。但不管怎么样吧，你只要热爱，你就无敌。这个是给我的一个最大感受。
Leadership, a skill developed through encounters with adversity, and by taking that all-important first step outside one's comfort zone.
Welcome to McDonald's. This used to be my old joint. You're now at McDonald's Choa Chu Kang Park. It's one of their newest and green restaurants, and it has a drive-thru as well, and a beautiful area at Choa Chu Kang Park. Shall we go see the kitchen? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Everything's the same. I see you have this new. Digital now, is it? Because of this new. Only this.
Kenneth Chan knows his way around any McDonald's restaurant in Singapore and around the world. He used to oversee operations for the chain in Singapore and China.
Everybody knows their jobs. We have aces in places during the real peak period so that everybody is very efficient in how they produce the food, work together, and get that one burger out to each customer. And I love it so much, and that's why I've been here for 25 years.
Kenneth joined McDonald's Singapore at 28 as an assistant marketing manager. Over the years, he rose through the ranks, leading iconic campaigns that Singaporeans still remember today. He'd eventually reach the top of the Golden Arches in China as McDonald's CEO.
So when I first went in there, I had no inkling about China. I'd never been to China in my life. My Chinese, to be honest, wasn't so good. My two biggest fears were, was I going to be able to motivate these hundreds of thousands of Chinese employees along my direction, or along the direction that we create together? And the second worry was, being in a very systematic country like Singapore, how do I navigate this sort of more VUCA or volatile or ambiguous environment like China? I know you guys have a really big...
Taking on an overseas posting is still something many Singaporeans are reluctant to do. Kenneth spent 7 years in China.
I think as a Singaporean moving to China, while I did not have the lay of the land of China necessarily, you know, I really had the advantage of understanding the culture and also the context of, you know, how the consumers and also how the employees thought as well. But I would say that regardless of whether you come from the East or you come from the West, the most important thing about the leadership journey is to really listen to your people. It's really about building trust and respect, because once they have trust and respect with you, they will, you know, follow your lead.
So global leadership relocation is critical to make sure that leaders are comfortable with discomfort. Imagine when you are moving countries, you are operating in an environment that is not familiar. Perhaps you are interacting with leaders who speak a different language. They eat different food. Work style may be different. Decisions are taken may be different. Leadership styles may be different. And all of these experiences stretch the leader's thinking, stretch the leader's mindset, and they get comfortable dealing with ambiguity. When they look at leaders, for top jobs, it is an absolute must-have to spend a few years outside of the home country.
Now you have the quarter pounder, and then you have the 10 to 1. How is the, I would also say that from a personal standpoint, if you had the opportunity to move to another market when you're younger, maybe not necessarily in a leadership position at the time, you should raise your hand and take on that role, because it'll allow you to think about how you operate within different cultures, different environments, lead different people. We need to sort of, get this little bit of hunger within our executives, right? The hunger for us to learn new things, to get out of our comfort zone. I would say the one thing that has changed, though, is that the world has become more global, and all our businesses have become more globally interconnected. So for you to move up in the corporate world or to move up in the business world, it's imperative for you to have more regional and more global experiences so that you can grow and stamp your footprint on a broader stage.
Stavanger, Norway, an unlikely place to spot a Singaporean. But this is where Chef Matthew Leong calls home these days. 8 years ago, Matthew decided that he wanted to work at a Michelin-starred restaurant anywhere in the world. His CV was picked by the owners of Renard, Stavanger's only Michelin-starred restaurant at the time.
Hello, hello. So over here is, you can see all the vegetables just came in, and we need to unpack it, pack the chiller nicely, label everything, and be ready to start with the prep. So today is Tuesday, we call it the mise en place, that we need to prepare for the week. So today is the day that we actually have all the ingredients coming in, we check all the ingredients.
Matthew was promoted to executive chef 6 years after joining the restaurant. 2 years later, he became one of the youngest chefs to lead a 3 Michelin-starred restaurant in the world. Matthew turned 30 this year.
I actually get the approval from my parents. They are very supportive. They gave me the opportunity. I said, okay, my son, you can go and explore yourself out overseas. I sent multiple CV around the world, plotting each and every country, sending CV out. Hopefully there's one Michelin-star restaurant that actually offered me a job, and I can actually start everything from scratch again. So it's a big move, but I was so fortunate that Norway, Stavanger, and Sir Erik Renault and Toril and Restaurant Renault gave me the opportunity, and I just packed my bag and I just came here without thinking, by the way. When I first came, it was a little bit rough, because the thing is, when you're 21, you don't have much money. You come to Norway, it's a new country, everything is different.
But Matthew didn't let his rough start hold him back. Today, he leads a kitchen manned by chefs from Norway, Germany, and across Europe.
As a leader, you need to adapt to the environment, not the environment adapt to you, because you are a minority. You need to adapt to the majority.
After years of living alone in Norway, Matthew is finally reunited with his wife Jolyn and their dog Frosty, as they've made the move to Norway for good.
When we got married in March, I actually flew back to Norway the next day after our marriage. So she was not very impressed, that's for sure, but finally she's here.
No, don't stand so near, it's so dangerous.
I believe it's stepping out of the comfort zone. Our country has a very fortunate system, in a way, that not many Singaporeans is actually comfortable going out overseas to explore themselves, to find something different. So many of them maybe actually tried for a few months and they come back, but it really takes a lot of discipline and a great mindset to actually stay in a place, bite through the hardship, and build something for yourself.
Across countries and cultures, at sea or in the harshest of lands, leadership takes many forms. But all leaders share one thing in common. They bravely step out of their comfort zones, face challenges head-on, and adapt to whatever comes their way. Whether seasoned executives or young students, leadership is about resilience, courage, and the drive to keep learning. For those willing to take that first step, the possibilities are limitless.